Hello students, today we're doing lesson 5.7 and this is on least common multiple. So when we're talking about multiples, that kind of means like think about it as your skip counting. So multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on. So all the multiples of 3. Okay, so this is like 3 times 1, then we have 3 times 2, 3 times 3, etc. Okay, that's the multiples. So today we're trying to find a least common multiple. So a common one means that we're going to have more than one number to do this with. So I'm going to show you 3 examples. The first example is going to be kind of like the way if you learned common multiples in elementary school. But now we're going to take the next two, the example 2 and 3, are going to show you how to do it a different way. Okay, so the first example is find the least common multiple, which they shorten it to LCM, so least common multiple. So find least common multiple of 10 and 12. So to do that, you would take 10 and you would list all of its multiples. So you start with 10 and you would go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Okay. Then you would take 12 and list all its multiples. So 12, 24, 36, 48, and 60. Okay, so I stopped at 60 kind of because I knew what the common multiple was, and I could have gone farther. I could have said 70, 80. You could go farther on them, but once you kind of find your common multiple, then you can stop. So 60 is my least common multiple. None of the ones before it are in common, so none of these are the same. That's the first one that they have the same. So the least common multiple of 10 and 12 is 60. So that's the way that you would normally do this. But sometimes you get numbers where it's hard to write out all the multiples, or it might be easier to do it a different way. So I'm going to show you the other way to do it. And your book kind of shows this maybe a little bit different, but kind of the same. I'm just going to show you the way that I like to, that I think is the easiest to understand. Okay, so example 2, find LCM of 12 and 18. So we're going to do, if you remember before the break on lesson 5.6, we did greatest common factor. And before that, we did, sorry, I have a cough. We did factor trees. So we're going to do that. And when we did GCF, we learned how to find the GCF, the greatest common factor, with factor trees. So we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to do a factor tree for 12. Okay, and so you should already know how to do this. Okay, and then we're going to do one for 18. And so I'm just kind of doing quickly some factor trees here. Okay, so when we did GCF, I'm not going to go back over that because I don't want to confuse you, although we will when we review it tomorrow. But when we did GCF, we found the ones they had in common, okay? Well, when you're doing LCM, you do find the ones they have in common. So the LCM, you write down the ones they have in common. So that's going to be this 2 and this 2. You only write it one time, okay, if it's in common. And then, actually, let me do that over. Let me do this a different way. Let's list out their factors because I think that makes it easier to see. So 2 times 2 times 3 makes 12. And for 18, we have 2 times 3 times 3. These have to be prime factors. This does not work with other way, okay? So we're going to circle the ones they have in common, 2s and 3s. And to find the LCM, which I wrote down here, we're going to write each of those that they have in common, 2 times 3. But then we're going to write all the ones they don't have in common also. So the trick here is that we're writing the ones that they have in common only once, okay? If they're circled, then you only write them once, so 2 and 3. And then we write everything else, which is these two. So then we write those down here. And then I'm going to multiply that. So we have 2 times 3 is 6, times 2 is 12, times 3 is 36. So the LCM of 12 and 18 is 36. Okay, let's do another one like that. Okay, example 3. And this is going to be the last example. And this one has actually 3 numbers to find the LCM for. So if you have 3 of them, you do it the same way, 4, 18, and 45. Okay, so I'm going to make factor trees for all of them. So 4 would be 2 times 2. Those are both prime. 18, I'm going to do 9 times 2. So 2 is prime. And 3 times 3. Okay, and then for 45, maybe do 9 times 5. 5 is prime. 9, 3 times 3. Okay, and then we're going to list them all, okay, because we're trying to find the ones they have in common, right? So and always when you're listing them, list them from least to greatest. It makes it easier to circle. Okay, so what do they all have in common? They don't have anything in common, do they? Well, some of them have things in common, but then other ones don't. So we are going to circle anything that 2 of them have in common. Okay, so this one has in common, this one has in common, and this one has in common. Okay, and so now I'm going to write down all those. So I have 2 times 3 times 3, but then I'm also going to write down these ones that are just extras, times 2 times 5. So when I do this, all I have 2 times 3 is 6, times another 3 is 18, times 2 times 5 is 10. Sorry, I'm just going to put those two together. Actually, let me clean that up a little bit. 2 times 5 is 10. And so now I have 180. So when you have 3 numbers, you're still looking for pairs of ones they have in common. And then you write out the ones that they don't have in common also. And so that's the way that you do LCM. Now, we're not going to very often be finding 3 anyway. You're mostly going to be doing 2s. Actually, let's do one more. I just want to do one more to help you understand this. And I'm going to ask you on example 4 to find least common multiple of, let's say, 10 and 15. And I want you to hit pause, and I want you to do that on your own now, going through my last examples. And then when you're finished, hit play and listen to me finish this. So go ahead and hit pause now and do these 2 on your own. Okay, you should be back now. And so I'm just going to do a quick trees like this. So these were super easy trees. So I take 10 is 2 times 5, and 15 was 3 times 5. So the only thing they have in common is 5. So for their LCM, I take that number 5, and then I also write down these right here that are just by themselves, okay? But remember, we're only writing down that 5, the one they have in common, only one time. Okay, and then I multiply this. 5 times 2 is 10, times 3 is 30. And that's my answer. That's what you should have gotten. Okay, I hope that you understand that. If not, replay it, watch it over, and pay attention to all the little things that I'm telling you, and then go try to do some of your work. Okay? Okay, that's it for today. Thanks.